I believe, give this a speculation factor of 1, that the borders of the Promised Land were supposed to extend that far north and as far south as the Gulf of Aqaba. That leaves only the desert undefined. At issue here is how far east along the Euphrates the Promised Land's border went before it turned south. Today, much of Syria, Jordan, and Iraq are desert areas. We have no idea what the land was like in Moses' day, but the Euphrates River Valley wasn't called the Fertile Crescent for nothing. My guess, however, is that Yahweh's intention was to go no further east than present-day Lake Al-Assad, the river's westernmost point. But I could be wrong. It could easily include the entire western half of modern Syria. The Ante-Lebanon Mountains form a natural barrier to moisture blowing in from the Mediterranean, creating desert behind them. Lest there should be any misunderstanding, after 40 years of wilderness wanderings, Yahweh again told Moses what the Promised Land included.
You have dwelt long enough at this mountain. Turn
northeast,
and take your journey, and go to the mountains of the Amorites,
southwest of the Dead Sea,
and to all the neighboring places in the plain.
Here he restates the overall objective.
In the mountains and in the lowland, in the south and on the sea coast, to the land of the Canaanites and to Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. See, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them and to their descendants after them. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 6 through 8.
Significantly, he also told them where not to go.
You are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. Therefore watch yourselves carefully. Do not meddle with them, for I will not give you any of their land, no, not so much as one footstep, because I have given Mount Seir,
south and east of the Dead Sea,
to Esau as a possession. Do not harass Moab,
east of the Dead Sea,
or contend with them in battle, for I will not give you any of their lands as a possession, because I have given Ar to the descendants of Lot as a possession. And when you come near the people of Ammon,
east of the Dead Sea, north of Moab,
do not harass them or meddle with them, for I will not give you any of the land of the people of Ammon as a possession, because I have given it to the descendants of Lot as a possession. Deuteronomy 2, 4 through 5, verses 9 and 19.
I think we can safely say that Jordan, whose capital is still called Amman, was clearly out of bounds to Jewish settlement. The reason Yahweh was so careful to point this out was that Mount Seir, Moab, Ar, and Ammon were not slated for destruction as the Canaanites were for their abominable religious practices. Now, that state of affairs will change drastically during the last days, by the way. But the Israelites had to pass through these territories to enter the land from the Jordan riverside. This passage makes it painfully clear that the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh were clearly in violation of the will of Yahweh when they insisted on settling in Ammonite territory east of the Jordan. God didn't give them this land. They simply took it. That little observation makes the next passage sting a bit.
For if you carefully keep all these commandments which I command you to do, to love Yahweh your God, to walk in all of his ways, and to hold fast to him, then Yahweh will drive out all of these nations from before you, and you will possess greater and mightier nations than yourself. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the western sea, shall be your territory. Deuteronomy 11, 22 through 24.
That's a really big if. God had told them precisely what land to occupy, but they, some of them, presumed they knew better than Yahweh. This is all too reminiscent of the attitude of our politicians today, who totally ignore the dictates of God in the matter of Israel's proper borderline, inventing instead politically correct but scripturally incorrect roadmap to peace, intending to carve up Israel into an anorexic and indefensible scrap of Swiss cheese. But excuse my rant, we were talking about history. The consequences of the geographic disobedience of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, if nothing else, make this whole study really confusing. Obviously, the map of Israel today, even if you include the West Bank, looks nothing like what is being described here. There is a huge discrepancy between what God promised and what they got. Does this make Yahweh a liar? No. The Israelites' ownership of the land was unconditional, but their possession of it was always predicated on their obedience, and they always had a problem with their disobedience. Remember the 12 spies? God had told the people umpteen times, "Go in and possess the land. I have given it to you." Instead, they sent in 12 guys to check the place out first. You know the story. They came back after 40 days, and 10 of them said the job was too tough. Bottom line, the Israelites all died off wandering around in the desert. But hidden in the minutiae is a telling little statistic.
So they, the 12 spies, went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, near the entrance to Hamath. Numbers 13:21.
So what? They started out where the people were camped in the wilderness of Zin, went to Hamath, or more properly, Lebo-Hamath, the entrance to the valley leading northward to it, turned around and came back, telling horror stories of giants armed to the teeth and a land that devours its people. Note that they didn't go south first to the Red Sea, or even to the Gulf of Aqaba, considered part of the Red Sea at that time, nor did they go all the way to the Euphrates River, but stopped 100 miles short of it. That betrayed a stunning lack of appreciation for the land God wanted to give them. Not only were they unwilling to go in on faith and take it, they weren't even willing to go and look at the whole thing. So when the time came for the new generation to enter the land, God gave them new instructions, more in line with their own anemic expectations.
When you come into the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, the land of Canaan to its boundaries. Your southern border shall be from the wilderness of Zin, along the border of Edom. Then your southern border shall extend eastward to the end of the Salt Sea. Your border shall turn from the southern side of the ascent of Akrabim, continue to Zin, and be on the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it shall go to Hazar Adar, and continue to Asmon. The border shall turn from Asmon to the brook of Egypt, and it shall end at the sea. As for the western border, you shall have the great sea for a border. Numbers 34, verses 1 through 6.
There's nothing vague about this one. God gave them everything but GPS coordinates. The southern border forms a curve dipping about 20 miles south from the Dead Sea, turning south, then west, then north, ending at the brook of Egypt. The Nile is nowhere close. This reference pretty much nails down the Wadi El Arish theory. Note that they didn't get any land south of the wilderness of Zin, not even to the Gulf of Aqaba. The spies' lack of faith had cost them somewhere between 50 and 150 miles of north-south territory, depending on whether the Red Sea Kenite theory is valid. The western border is, as usual, the Mediterranean Sea.
And this shall be your northern border. From the great sea you shall mark out your border line to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor you shall mark out your border to the entrance of Hamath. Then the direction of the border shall be toward Zedad. The border shall proceed to Ziphron, and it shall end at Hazar Enan. This shall be your northern border. Numbers 34, 7 through 9.
This is obviously not the famous Mount Hor on the border of Edom, where Aaron was buried. It is rather the mountain later known as Tavros Umanis, mentioned in the Song of Solomon 4 verse 8 as Amana. It is located near the ancient seacoast town of Byblos, slightly north of the 34th parallel, near Lebanon's northern border, midway between Beirut and Tripoli. The entrance of Hamath is the southern end of the valley between the Lebanon and anti-Lebanon mountains that leads north to the present Syrian city of Hama. It is about 40 miles inland from Byblos. Zedad I take to be the town of Zadad, the latitude of modern Tripoli, perhaps 275 miles inland. North of Damascus lies a mountain called Jebel Zephira, whose name is likely derived from Ziphron. The border then moves west a bit. Hazar Enan is probably the Arab village of Dar Anan. The Arab Dar, or Hebrew Hazar, means dwelling, and Anan or Enan means spring, about 25 miles northwest of Damascus.
You shall mark out your eastern border from Hazar Enan to Shephram. The border shall go down from Shephron to Riblah on the east side of Ain. The border shall go down and reach to the eastern side of the sea of Chinnereth. The border shall go down along the Jordan River, and it shall end at the Salt Sea. This shall be your land, with its surrounding boundaries. Numbers 34, 10 through 12.
The line continues south. Targum Jonathan identifies Shephem with Aphima, which is Banias, about 4 miles north of Laish, a.k.a. Dan. Ironically, this area was traditionally recognized as the northern tip of Israel. The idiom from Dan to Beersheba meant the whole country. Beersheba, by the way, was 40 or 50 miles north of the wilderness of Zin. The Israelites apparently believed that less is more. Anyway, now we're looking for Riblah. Ain is apparently Ain al-Macha, or Salt Spring, located between Kadesh and the Sea of Semiconchitis, that small body of water upstream from the Sea of Galilee, later known as Lake Hula. Riblah must have been just east of this, on the northern shore of Lake Hula. The Sea of Chinnereth, or Galilee, was included in Israel's territory. The rest of the borderline simply follows the Jordan River south to the Dead Sea. I realize that all of this is hard to follow without a detailed map in front of you. Basically, Numbers 34 defined Israel's territory as all of present-day Israel, without the southern pointy part that extends from the Negev to the Gulf of Aqaba, including the West Bank and Gaza Strip, but not the Golden Heights, which is, however, encompassed in the Genesis 15 description. Plus almost all of Lebanon, whose western border has been plumped up a bit to include a few miles of Syrian territory. Obviously, these borders differ from the land area promised to Abraham, and even to those specified to Moses at the time of the Exodus. Then the land was described as extending all the way from the Red Sea in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. The eastern border didn't change as far as we can tell. It extended to the desert in the north and to the Jordan River in the south, beyond which, in Moses' day, lived the nations of Ammon, Moab, and Edom, whom God had expressly told the Jews not to touch. These differences are indicative of a lack of faith on the part of Israel, leading to disobedience, leading in turn to estrangement from their God and His blessings. I find it touching that God gave them one last chance to possess all of the land when He gave Joshua his marching orders as they were going in for the first time. All they had to do was go out in faith and tread upon it.
Go over this Jordan, you, Joshua, and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Yisrael. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, as I said to Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites.
A phrase that indicates a bigger rather than smaller hunk of present-day Syria.
And to the great sea, toward the going down of the sun, shall be your territory. Joshua 1, 2 through 4.
History shows that they did not tread upon all of it, settling for a truncated country extending from Dan to Beersheba, and struggling to hold even that.